So we have a quorum on at this point, am I correct, Commissioner, Executive Director Fry?
Yes, we have a quorum.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Stephanie Rawlinson. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. It is 1:07. The specific called purpose of this meeting is to address several issues regarding the FMAP and wage increases. That we did find this necessary to go ahead and get this done so that this money can get out to our providers. And I appreciate you all tuning in and helping us with that process. I would ask Commissioner Robin Blackwood to please read the statement of the notice of meeting statement, please.
She's not available now, I don't think.
Christy, are you available? Is Christy online? Christy, could you read the statement of
Commissioner Rawlinson.
yes.
Okay.
I'll be glad to read it.
Lori Manos is going to read it.
A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the January 7th, 2022 special call commission meeting was distributed January 5th, 2022 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistants, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate you reading that for me. I didn't have it in front of me, so I appreciate that being taken care of. We have an agenda in front of us. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as written, please.
Motion submitted.
Have a motion to approve, to use the agenda as written. Do I have a second?
Barry Malford, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Malfris. We have a second from Commissioner Malfris. Motion was made by Commissioner Kohar. All right, now let's move straight into the first issue, use of the 6.2 FMAP funds. Dr. Fry, will turn this over to you at this point and allow you to give us a presentation on this.
Thank you. As background, we've already talked about the 6.2, but as a result of that, we have an estimate of approximately $50 million for a cash carry forward. And in the last meeting in which the commission discussed the utilization of the 6.2% FMAP dollars, you all recommended that we have the stakeholder listening sessions to inform the use of the 10% FMAP, and then based on that, asked that staff come back to you to revisit utilization of the 6.2% FMAP dollars. So we're doing it consistent with that request and also with new information as described within the memorandum, that we have new information as the commission knows, but for the benefit of the public as well, and this is articulated in the memorandum. We sent the recommendations, the proposal related to use of the 10% FMAP to DHHS. However, that was our recommendation, and then they had to incorporate that into their larger submission to CMS. There were portions of what we included within our 10% FMAP budget plan that did not get included in what DHHS submitted to CMS, because of course we're one part of a much larger submission by Department of Health and Human Services. So in coming to you, we wanted to present you with a recommendation that would give effect to those recommendations within that 10% FMAP proposal by utilizing the 6.2% FMAP. So that's the background that brings us here. I do want to also provide one other caveat, which is the 10% FMAP dollars. We cannot use those dollars for our regional centers. However, the 6.2% FMAP dollars we can. So that is why we have, that explains one of our recommendations today, our ability to implement initiatives consistent with what we know we need and across the network as well as in our centers. Turning to the specific recommendations under Roman 3A, we are recommending that the commission approve using the 6.2 FMAP dollars in amounts between 3 to 5 million to the provider network to address the severe staffing challenges that we know the provider network and our centers are challenged with, as well as many other sectors of the economy. This part of the recommendation is still in the 10% FMAP plan. However, the 10% FMAP plan has yet to be finally approved by CMS, so those dollars have not yet been made available to the network. And the situation that led to that recommendation and inclusion within the original 10% FMAP plan has only become more severe, and we would be able to really benefit the provider network by starting the ability to perform those initiatives by releasing some of the 6.2% dollars consistent with that. The original amount that was recommended for this purpose was $7 million in the 10% FMAP. So we thought we came up with the estimate of 3 to 5 million because it was still fiscally responsible based on where we were as an agency with our budget, but gets us to about half of that to allow the network to start working towards addressing their staffing challenges. And if you look at attachment attachment B, you can see the 3 different levels of an allocation of 3 million, an allocation of 4 million, an allocation of 5 million, and the impact of those 3 different levels based on which of those should you approve this, at which level it would be approved.
All right, thank you. Is that where you have, and what is your, do you have a proposal or that we, like, which one do you recommend? What is your proposed course of action, Dr. Croft?
Yes, pardon, So that's our, we provided information at 3 levels. Our recommendation is to approve at the highest level of 5 million. I want to remind that there will absolutely be compliance monitoring, I apologize, related to how these dollars are used. That's a requirement under the Act. So it would allow, and that's still lower than the original amount requested under the 10% FMAP plan. And also, I don't know the level at which this was included in the final plan. I just know the item was. So we recommend the 5 million. It will allow them to immediately begin addressing these critical labor shortages. And we have the staffing to do compliance monitoring, and we're legally required to do so to ensure that the dollars are used consistent with this limited purpose.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion from the commission regarding this matter?
I'm sorry, didn't you say that this was part of the 10%, the raises that we're doing for these? for these salary increases is part of the 10% FMAP money. Did you say that?
Yeah, this is an item that was included within the HHS submission to CMS. However, that CMS submission has not been approved yet, and I also don't know the specific funding level based on the information that HHS was kind enough to share with us in advance.
But if the point is though, if it is approved and when whatever amount of money is approved, then this portion of it can be used for that. They have not rejected that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Do I hear a motion on the floor from any commissioner?
So move that we accept that.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second on the floor?
Second.
A second, David does.
Okay, so I got seconds from Gary, Lamel, and David. All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Or is there any discussion, further discussion? I'm sorry. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Commissioner Miller just texted me his aye. He's having trouble getting his volume on. So I do have an aye from a text message from Commissioner Miller. All right. So please mark that as an aye for Commissioner Miller. All right. The motion carries, and that we will proceed, Executive Director Fry. Okay.
All
All
right.
right. The next item on the agenda is Rufus Britt addressing us about wage increases for regional centers and critical posts.
Pardon, Commissioner Rawlinson, that was 3A. We do have a couple of other subsections still
Okay,
under utilization of 6.2. My pardon.
No problem. No problem. We'll come back to that then. Let's go ahead and do what you're doing. Go ahead and finish what you were going to do under B and C or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Under 3B, this, I was mentioning earlier that under the 6.2% FMAP dollars, we had flexibility of those, whereas the 10% FMAP plan only does not apply to our regional centers. So when we were coming to you with this recommendation and wanting to address policy initiatives included in our original 10% FMAP plan, this is not, but yet not included in the final submission to CMS by HHS. Sorry for all of these acronyms. This was not included in that. However, it is consistent with the policy initiative, and we have the flexibility out of these 6.2% FMAP dollars. And really, this mirrors the concerns represented under the last item. Here, we just want to be able to utilize those dollars to address targeted staff retention and recruiting in the form of enhanced pay rates, bonus pay, incentive pay, and hiring bonuses within our regional centers. They are, of course, affected in autism homes. They are, of course, affected by the labor crisis, just like the rest of our network. Given the vote on the last item, the recommendation to be consistent, we gave a range of 683 to 1.1 in this memo, 1.132. To be consistent with that, we would recommend the 1.1322, which represents the same percentage that's going to be distributed to the provider network. And this would just go to the same initiative, but to our regional centers and autism homes to allow us to begin addressing the labor crisis through these bonuses and pay rates.
Okay. Do I have a motion to that effect on the floor?
So moved, David.
Commissioner Miller? All right, Commissioner Thomas made the motion. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Miller, I believe. Is that correct?
Second.
Coher.
There we go.
But
All right,
we have a
Coher.
major echo going on, so somebody in IT needs to help us out here.
I think it's Ed, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there you go, Ed. It's off now. All right. So I have a second from Commissioner Cohar. Is there any further discussion on this matter?
I just wanted to say for the record that obviously if we're talking about bonuses and other raises, that everybody on this commission and in the agency needs to understand that's a temporary solution, and we need to do some other things for a more permanent solution to our labor crisis, and that I hope we are, and I think and hope we are working in that department to have a more innovative way some more innovative ways, which I have ideas for that I won't talk about here, to make a more permanent solution, because what we're doing is obviously a temporary solution.
That's correct. I think that's correct. Okay, any other discussion? No further discussion. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, the motion carries, and we move forward with number C at this point, Executive Director Fry.
Thank you. This is a recommendation to address an area that was excluded from the final, that was included in our original 10% FMAP plan, but was excluded from the submission by HHS to CMS. And here we're recommending the disbursement of, we offer 3 different levels between 2 to 4 million to incentivize and really now, given the timing, reward day service providers for reopening services to at-home individuals. In that original 10% FMAP plan, this included a date range of 7/1/21 through 12/31/21, and it was row 3 in that, and their estimated cost had been 3.45, and that's how we came up with the recommendation of somewhere between 2 to 4. We do recommend between those 3 levels, and if you look to attachment C, you can see the projected payment based on if you do a 2 million allocation, a 3 million allocation, or a $4 million allocation. And the way that we have made this recommendation is based on actual data of the units provided. I do want to highlight that there is this is somewhat of a projection. So we have hard numbers from July through November. We don't yet have the December numbers. So that final 1/6 of that is an estimate. It's a close estimate because we have 5/6 of the data, but there could be just a little bit of variance based on the actual utilization when we get those data in for the month of December. Each service provider would receive payment per unit to reward the reopening of day service, which we know had cost affiliated with it. And again, it gives effect to the recommendation in the 10% FMAP plan.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions for Commissioner Fry, or Executive Director Fry regarding this matter, Commissioners?
Please. I don't understand when they said they excluded it from the recommendation. Is that something that we can logically understand why they excluded it, or?
I know that, we're one part, when you think of the world of HHS, and I know you're familiar with that, we're one part of their overall plan. And it could have been, I don't know the rationale of why things were included or excluded. I just know that they were kind enough to let us know that some of our original plan was not included because I let them know we were going to have this meeting, and it would really help us make a better recommendation to the commission about the 6.2 if we knew whether the policy initiatives included within the 10% FMAP were going to be able to be effectuated. But I don't know the rationale for that.
we're not going against their policy in any way. We're just using it for our own needs better than what they can recommend. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, practically, again, I have no basis for this, but it's always possible that this was kind of retroactive. And it hasn't even been approved yet, so it might be that they're going to get approval in 2022 for monies to be released or related to something in 2021. I don't know. But to put Rufus Britt on the spot, we do know that there were costs that were incurred related to the reopening of these programs. And I know Rufus can probably speak in more detail to some of those precise costs.
I totally agree. I agree with you. The money's needed, but I just wondered why they excluded it. That's all.
Yeah, they didn't give a rationale, but to just reinforce Dr. Fry's point and to make you feel even more comfortable, the providers that started the activities to support individuals who were living at home, again, they incurred costs over and above, what the current rate was able to fund. And so kudos to those providers that continue to strategize to be able to expand the number of folks that they can provide services to during this public health emergency.
Okay.
Rufus,
The staff.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Commissioner, Executive Director Fry?
I was just going to say that across these three levels, the staff recommendation is to allocate at the $4 million level. Based on the listening sessions, you all heard about the increased costs, and then those happened in the summer, and as we have learned, those costs actually exceeded the original estimate. And so that's why we make a recommendation of an allocation of $4 million, which is the column to the furthest right, and is close to the original recommendation in the 10% FMAP of the 3.45.
Okay. Any other questions? Barry, I think, did you have one?
Yeah, sorry. I interrupted her. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. I just wanted to ask Rufus if he knew what percentage of day programs were closed right now because of public health emergency, which America's going to have to learn to live with. But anyway, is what it looks to me like, at least as long as Biden's in office. So my question is, does he know what percentage of day programs are closed?
I don't know the exact percentage. It's a low percentage. The majority of reopened. Some have had to close intermittently given outbreaks, but the majority of the day providers are operating. And also some changed service lines to limit the number of folks in congregate settings. So some change their business practice or work with individuals they support to have more individualized services, focusing on employment. And so, that's if you see where a provider that wants, provide X number of folks services in a facility, and now that number's lower. It's not a factor of them closing. They change their business line to not coincide with employment first mandates, but also to provide more personalized services and limit or mitigate the risk of COVID outbreaks by having large numbers of folks in facility-based settings.
Okay, thank you. All right,
you.
any other questions? All right, we have a motion, a second on the floor. I think it's probably time for us to vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have no objection.
Any nays? Is that a nay or? Okay. All right, the ayes carry, the motion moves forward. Is that all, Executive Director Blackwood? Executive Director Fry?
I just have one final item, which is item D. It's on page 3 of your packet. This item is also in response to an item that was included in the original 10% FMAP, but excluded in the final submission to CMS. That was in row 11. There was a recommendation to allocate 1.05 million to build capacity in the system to prevent escalation of individuals to more restrictive and more costly living settings by developing a telepsychiatry response capability. That was not included in the final submission. So with item D, we are asking to have the ability to utilize 1 million of the 6.2 FMAP dollars to establish crisis response initiatives in collaboration with the Department of Mental Health. The strategies will include, but are not limited to, establishing training to increase acumen and awareness of the needs of individuals served with complex mental health needs. 2, to establish designated institutional respite care beds with enhanced telepsychiatry at 1 or more regional centers to support individuals receiving home and community-based waiver services and their families to resolve behavior challenges and mitigate the need for out-of-home placement.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And do I have does anyone have questions about that? I would like to make a comment. This is something that's desperately needed in the state. I think we're addressing a critical need with this, Dr. Fry. From everything I've seen in the communities and the conversations I've had with parents and families, I believe this to be a truly valuable service for us to be able to offer. Do I have any other questions or comments from the commission before we move forward?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Miller. I'm in agreement.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion then, Commissioner Miller?
So moved.
Okay. We're moving to accept the program that Michelle has just proposed. Do I have
I would say, I would second, Barry Malphus will second, and say that, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was just going to say that I will second, and when we got to discussion, I was going to say that I also think it's a valuable thing. I just think we need parameters as to exactly how to define psychiatric medicine and some other parameters, which I'm sure that Ms. Fry is more and just as concerned about as I am to get the parameters straight so that we can spend the money properly in an effective manner.
I agree. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I heard some, but I don't know what somebody said.
I know.
Did anybody hear?
I didn't hear anything else. Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah,
Aye.
sorry. Go ahead.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, and we will move forward with that, Dr. Fry. All right. Now,
when will these funds be available so our provider knows exactly when they're going to get them?
We're going to, and we will send out guidance, and we're going to immediately proceed with trying to disperse these dollars consistent with how we've talked about them today, because some of these will require plans or applications, for lack of a better term, to come to us. We will immediately start, to the best of our ability, disperse, and we'll send a memorandum with more details to the network following this meeting. Not immediately following, but as soon as we're able to get it ready.
Give you 10 minutes.
all right. Let's move forward then to number 5 on the agenda, wage increases for regional center and critical posts. Rufus, would you like to address us?
Yes, ma'am. The memorandum in your packet really details the prices that our regional centers and many healthcare agencies throughout our state and nation are facing with respect to being able to recruit and retain mission critical positions. Today's recommendations, which are 3 recommendations, and I'll cover each one separately with the economic impact, but we're looking for support from the commission and endorsement to increase salaries for 3 critical positions licensed practical nurses, registered nurses, and food services positions. The first licensed practical nurses, currently the agency has an entry-level starting salary of $41,500, and this is annualized for full-time equivalent employee. The request is to increase the entry-level salary and as well as adjust the salaries for current workforce to ensure equity to $48,000 for a LPN or licensed practical nurse. The projected economic impact that incorporates the true-up cost for current workforce and the estimated number of licensed practical nurses that we need, which for LPNs is 47. The estimated cost is $527,210. And as a caveat, this is not tied to the 6.2 FMAP. We would actually be able to absorb this increase within existing operating and personnel funds designated to the regional centers.
Commissioner Rollinson, if I may add one additional detail, and I think everyone knows this, but we've been talking about the 10% FMAP. When those funds become available, I just want to reiterate, our centers won't receive them. So that is part of the reason why we're bringing this recommendation, is that money is going to allow the network to explore initiatives like these, whereas that influx of additional dollars will not happen once CMS approves that 10% FMAP plan.
Right, and to Commissioner Mount's point, those have the potential for long-term impact and implications, but right now they're short-term, and of course these moves are permanent. So this has long-term implications, so we have to make sure that we have it within existing revenues and budget.
Stephanie, you're muted. Stephanie, I don't know if she's muted. I don't think. There she goes.
I'm so sorry. Rufus, do y'all prefer that we take these together or separately?
However you prefer. I can keep going and we can do a motion to endorse the entire plan A, B, and C, or separately.
Okay, let's go through them, and then if we see anything we want to address, we'll address them individually. How about that? Go ahead and do the next two if you don't mind.
We'll do. Excellent. All right, registered nurses, of course, it's well documented that there's a short supply of licensed medical professionals, especially registered nurses in our state and nationwide, to ensure that we have a healthy workforce and reduce our reliance on outsourcing and personnel staffing companies. We're seeking approval to increase entry-level salary for RNs from $53,000 to $62,000, with also the same plan to make sure that we adjust the salaries of current RNs so that their salaries are equitable to new FTEs that are being recruited. The economic impact for true up, as well as for the number of RNs that we intend to recruit, which is 31 is the target. Estimated economic impact is $1,006,265. And the last component of this recommendation is for food services. These are very dedicated personnel. Unfortunately, they have some of the lowest salaries in state government, with some entry-level salaries being under $10. And so the recommendation is to increase the hourly wage for food service specialist salaries to $12 per hour for food services 2 and $15 for a food service specialist 3. And these are valuable positions. And again, some of the lowest compensated personnel within our state system. The proposed salary increases are commensurate with other state agencies like Department of Corrections, who operate food services departments, and the total true up for existing staff, adjusting their salary to include the recruitment, is $346,327. And again, we think that's a value-added effort, and those folks are definitely deserving. And so that concludes the recommendations for permanent salary increases. Now I'll entertain any questions.
Commissioners, do you have questions for Mr. Brett?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Under B, registered nurses, you're increasing the entry level 17%. Does that mean we're giving a 70% raise to all the people who currently work there as RNs?
It's gonna vary by their current salary, but we want the entry-level salary for RN to be 62,000. And so the true up is gonna vary depending on current salaries, but the baseline salary for RNs in our system would be 62,000.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that people that are currently working feel like they're getting their shake, that's all.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
And it doesn't sound like they would be if you didn't give them the same percent increase.
We can modify that if you.
We
I don't
don't,
know. I know the answer.
we
I
don't need to
know.
modify that.
Yeah. And again, I think.
What he's saying is everybody that's lower than that will get there anyway. So it's fine like it is.
And this makes us competitive, and so right now we're losing existing nurses who are going to work for hospitals and other settings, to make higher wages. So
That's my point. I want us to be competitive. We're raising the entry salaries to 62,000. Do we have people now who are currently working that make less than that?
yes, sir.
And so that wouldn't be fair to them unless they were raised above that or higher.
I guess to counter that point, one, we've done some other things through bonuses, but they're going to get an increase, but also they're going to get a quality of life, because right now with the shortages that we have, they have no quality of life. And so I get what you're saying, but to counterbalance that point, the 62 is above the median, for other state agencies. And so again, I think they're going to be happy with the outcome of getting a raise, but also not having to work as many hours and cover so many shifts.
I just totally trying to understand. We've got a RN rate right now making less than 62. We hire people in at 62.
The percentage of increases is going to vary given the person, the current workforce. There's going to be some variation.
Let me clarify, Rufus. I need to make sure. So let's say I'm there, I'm making $62,000 right now, and I've been with you for a year. Once we hire these or we put this in effect, 62 would be the bottom. So, or let's say I'm making 58. Okay. When you hire these other ones, I would immediately bump to 62 as well. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we did an analysis.
Fair.
That's right. And that's why this ensures equity and prevents abrasion. And through our analysis, folks in the classifications that we're recruiting for, they're not making 62. And so this is going to make a lot of folks happy. And we didn't do this in a vacuum. We actually talked to directors of nursing and got their input, because again, it's their workforce that's going to be affected. And so they were definitely in favor of this plan.
Okay. All right. What other questions do we have? Commissioner Thomas, you got any questions?
No.
Okay. Blackwood, are you on here?
I am. I don't have any questions, Stephanie. Thank you.
Okay. Who else am I looking for?
I think
LaMel,
it's me.
do you have any
Yeah.
questions?
I guess I would have one quick question. Rufus, as I read through the memo, it appears like as far as the economic impact side of things, we are sort of taking into account the fact that we are significantly down on both our FTE and part-time positions. In other words, our costs are lower because we don't have anybody in these spots because we've lost so many. 153, I think, is what you've listed out. In a perfect world, at some point in time, we will fill up those slots as we are more successful in hiring, right? So outside of paying for it by the fact that we're not paying out as much as already because we don't have as many people, do we have the ability to absorb these costs effectively, or a plan to absorb these costs when, let's say, a majority of those positions fill up?
Yes, and it will also too, and this is pointed out in the memorandum, that it will reduce our reliance on temporary staffing companies, which forecasted expenditures for this year is like $3.1 million.
Right. Yeah, that's always a huge expense. Okay, I just want to make sure that was that we were addressing that as well. Thank you.
Good question.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Miller.
Yes, sir. What questions have you got for us, Miller?
I'm in agreement with Mr. Britt and his recommendation.
Okay. All right, we've heard from all commissioners. Do we have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, and this motion is to approve all of the proposals made by Mr. Britt, is that correct?
Yes.
As written,
As written.
as written in the memo, right?
All right, correct,
Okay.
as written in the memo,
Correct.
the motion is to approve all of them as written in the memo.
Correct.
Is there any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, we're gonna take a vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries and we have approved these, wage increases. Is there any further business that needs to come before the commission today?
No,
Hearing
not from
none,
DDS.
hearing none, we thank you all for being with us today, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 1:48 p.m. And our next regularly scheduled meeting will be January 7th, is it 17th? Hang on a minute, let me look it up real quick. January the 20th. January the 20th, we will hopefully be back in Columbia at 10 a.m. Look forward to seeing you all there. Call if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.